fat trade paperbacks, lock into the
I am joined by the amazing Allison O'Toole, Dan Price, Andre Owen, Fred Kennedy,
Chip Zdarsky. Chip, thanks for coming.
What's up, folks? I'm your host, Konrad, on Wednesday Night Reviews, and once again, joined by the amazing and talented Anthony Stokes. Anthony, thanks for coming on.
Could have thought of a third adjective, I feel like.
Hey, I'm not the writer here. You are, man.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, it's always a joy. Just for the folks out there who maybe haven't seen your face, never heard your name, or the variety of comics you've made previously, who is Anthony Stokes?
Man, I really just like to make comics. I like to write, and I ain't got too much going on.
Lies. So many lies.
I have a lot of comic stuff going on, a million, but no, for sure. But personally, no, not much.
The absolute hardest working person I think I've ever seen. The most comics produced over the last, what, 3-4 years now? Yeah. No, I don't got much going on. No. All right, cool. And humble. There you go. Amazing, talented, humble Anthony
That's
Stokes.
The first time I've ever been called humble. That's a record.
Well, I try. I try to, breach new horizons here. So on tonight's show, we're here to talk about your newest book, which is live on Kickstarter now, which is very different, I feel like, from the rest of the stuff you've made. When you sent it to me, I opened the press kit and I started looking through it, and I'm like, it doesn't look like the kind of stuff you normally make. Some of it, or the first issue, I should say. And unsurprisingly to me, within the first, how long has it been active now? A week?
No, today.
Within the first day, less than 24 hours, you have almost half your back. That is Canadian. Don't freak yourself out.
No, that's good. I like the
bigger figure looks nice, but
I like the bigger one.
Yeah. So you've got almost 75% backing in. I think it went live 6 a.m. I saw something. Or am I wrong there?
11 hours. It's been alive for 11 hours.
Half a day, and you're already 75% or more booked. Awesome. I guess to start with, given that your normal comics cover stuff that is mental health related, it feels very introspective about what you're after and sort of some of the thoughts that you're having. I guess I wanted to ask, what the hell is It's Fun to Kill People about?
So it's basically, it's right there. So the kid Tommy, both his parents are serial killers, in a variety of ways. So I won't say too much about the dad, but the mother will basically marry old men, and then they have accidents, and then she gets life insurance money. So in a very large way, it's actually still very much about mental health, because Tommy, basically her deal is like she has to keep Tommy alive. It's, she doesn't want to draw too much attention to herself, even though she has all these conspicuous kind of like deaths, so she keeps him alive just barely, essentially. And then so he's being neglected, and in his being neglected, he's developed a personality that's very much like his mother, who he despises, but he admires her in certain ways. And it's still about mental health. Still, it's like the other side. It's like it's like no, he definitely needs help for sure, 100%. I think you're muted, bro. Yeah, I don't hear it. There we go.
There we go. So it's definitely a book where I can see the odd angles that you're coming from, and I'm enjoying it quite a lot from the pages you sent me. I'm just going to quickly go through the Kickstarter and scroll down a bit, because the art is beautiful, and I wanted to shout out the artist on this. Would you be so kind to let people know who you're working with?
Absolutely. So I'm working with Leone. He did the illustrations. and I might butcher some of these names, but Tiny, or not Tiny, Fabi Marquez, who's one of my very good friends, absolutely adore Tiny, and Barlow Moreira. I'm terrible, like I said, I'm terrible at pronunciation. They colored the book, basically. They colored different parts of the book. And then Stephen Koch did the letters, and then my friend Dunn helped me with the editing, art editing, story editing, and such.
Beautiful. I gotta say, like as I mentioned earlier, this is not the same art style I'm used to from you.
No.
I guess what made you want to go this way, like this sort of cartoony, Saturday morning almost style?
What made me really want to do it is basically I want to be able to work in any genre, and I mentioned that before. I really, and I mean it. I really do. I've done manga. I want to do more manga. I want to do all kinds of stuff, and this is the style that worked for this comic. And I really feel as if I got a really good team together for this one. I feel like the stars aligned a little bit.
Nice.
I think Tiny Aside, who is a very Fabi, who's a very experienced colorist, one of the best colorists in the industry. We were all relatively new. I think, I don't want to speak for anybody, but I feel like generally speaking, we're all kind of like growing with the book and learning together and teaching each other stuff, which is really nice as well. And truthfully, so it's the style that worked. And then I really, like I said, I want everything. I want a comic of every style. I really want to be able to sell anybody anything, and I think we did a good job.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of those things where, like I said, when I got it, I was like, "Is this Anthony's book?" And then as I got reading it, I was like, "You know what? It's good," and he sent it to me, so I'm gonna trust him.
Yeah,
it's definitely odd though, and I think I want to talk more about the main character, because he's living through this life, I'll call it, with his mother, where, like you said, suddenly people around her are dropping dead and she's getting money and maintaining her wealth through that odd method. But by the time we hit him and he's in, well, he skips grades, if I'm not mistaken. That's sort of a reason they give him why he's so small. So by the time he gets to where he's at in education, his outlook on life is grim. It's dark. It's a little cutthroat. But given his parentage, it makes sense.
exactly.
Yeah. So, like, what I guess went into making him? When did he come about in your head, and when did you start putting him on paper?
So I was talking to my friend, and I'm really, I mean, it's like one of those things, like, where would my life be if I didn't have, that's the thing about a writer, is that you can have these little one-off conversations. So my friend was telling me he knew somebody whose mom was a therapist and would get off of work and just psychologically torture this guy, basically. And it didn't sound too dissimilar from, I mean, that was the origin. I heard it and I was like, I wanted to do like a thriller about that. And then I was like, okay, let me do a comic. And then it ended up being like, let me do a black comedy and let me do a vignette style. Tommy, but like I said, it's fascinating because Tommy, he's living in this tough environment. Like I said, he in a lot of ways, he's very mature. He's very mature in some ways, but in other ways, he's completely immature.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be a part where he tries ice cream for the first time, and which most kids experience ice cream a lot, so it's like things like that. And I wanted a character, I think it does a good balance of a character who has dimensions for sure, but it's also a good balance of unlikable and understandable,
You definitely seem to write characters who they do that a lot. They're not exactly good people, but they're not hateable. They have these very like strong redeeming qualities, but at the same time, they're kind of like, I don't want to be around them. I like their story, but from afar,
No, exactly. And I think it's like somewhat you would be antisocial, if you grew up in these conditions. Like you see him right now, he's dumping out the toaster onto a plate to eat. Like that's his dinner. Like that's just there. It's the terrible living conditions for sure.
Yeah. So, uh, I guess one of the other things that came to mind, like when I was going through this, because it is so starkly different than anything else you've worked on. When it came to actually like laying out the story, showing the humorous and yet kind of crazy events that this character is going through, um, did you have to change your approach to writing at all, or did it just kind of come to you? What did you find the process like?
It's hard to say now because it's funny because I started this book. We put pen to paper probably like May, June last year. So it's like, yeah, this is the longest, probably one of the longest kind of like in production books I had. Where it was last year, it was almost a year. And so I can't tell you exactly. I wish I had thought about it, but I just had to rewire my brain in a sense. In a sense, I had to think about things differently with it being vignettes. Even essentially, my approach though was to tell a good story within a 3 to 5 page chunk, and then you'll have maybe you think of a punchline, and now I build either you think of the premise and you build it out, or you think of a good story, build it out. It's multiple ways to come to that conclusion, but the main thing I wanted was I wanted a really good story. Like I wanted that was first and foremost, and I feel like this is maybe my best written book, I would say, for sure.
Interesting. Okay, I like that. Then I guess something I don't think I've ever asked you before. What is your educational background and like your creative background prior to 2020? Because I believe that's the first time you released a comic.
I released my first comic in 2021, right? Yeah, 2021. Decay through. Yeah, it was 2021 actually. And so I don't have a traditional background. I taken a film appreciation class in community, and then I took a creative writing class. But
right
that's
on.
really it. I'm really self-taught. I used to watch video essays I used to watch reviews as a kid, and I would watch video essays, and that was more or less kind of like in watching movies, so I think it's hard to say self-taught now. I have a couple of mentors that have been super helpful, but the fundamentals I really taught myself.
Interesting. Okay. And I suppose like one of the things that is different in this campaign, you sort of started doing it in Tap or Die, but the sort of the femme fatale, you've got like the sort of the sexy covers, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. They sell, they're fun. Why not enjoy them, right?
There was a balance to strike here real quick because you brought it up. There's a balance to strike because it is so far from a kid's book, but you still have a kid's protagonist. So you still, you want to be cognizant of that. So my thing was like tasteful, sexy. Like she is a femme fatale, so it makes sense for the story. Yeah, so I just want to put that out there.
No, for sure. And like that's one of the things where like this cover looks very to me modern comics. It's very standard stuff.
Manga.
Cool. Yeah. Well, absolutely. This, however, reminds me of like the classic comics of like I don't even know the comics name, and I probably should know that. But just the old school comics where they did have the femme fatales, they had murder mysteries, the way it's painted, the way it's done up, it was just like a very fun, cheeky little thing. Again, something that I hadn't really seen you do as of yet. So it feels like you're sort of evolving as a creator. What sort of impacts has this book had on you when it comes to how you create, how you think about making comics, and all that kind of stuff?
I think what's funny is that it's made me. I think I mentioned this. My favorite genre, if I were to be given a choice of a genre that of a great movie of any genre, it'd be a raunchy comedy or a black comedy. So I feel like I mean, I'm just happy. Like this is like this is the book I would want to read. This is a book that Anthony Stokes, and I would love to read the cat, I love the chapter die, but this is a book I would read and be like, I need more. I'd be disappointed that there isn't more. But there's that. Can you say the question? I'm sorry, I'm tired. It's been a long day. Because I can't directly answer the question.
It's all good. When it comes to like, because this comic is definitely different from what you've made before, your approach to it, how has this, since you've completed this issue, how has that impacted how you create comics? Like, is there anything that you took away from this and were like, I want to do this from now on?
Actually, you know what's funny is now I have more. I'm doing like 2 other comedies this year.
Love it.
Yeah. So it kind of like, I was like, okay, I can do this. You know, I was like, okay, I can do this. Yeah. And I love comedies. I love like laughing. I love like making people laugh. So it's like, okay, it made sense. And it's also like kind of high concept comedies as well. Like like as a subgenre, pretty much, you know, as well. So
interesting. Okay, cool. Well, we're just past 15 minutes in. So now is the perfect time for me to ask, Anthony, as per always, just in case there's someone out there who's never done a Kickstarter, like contributed to or bought from,
shame on you.
What? Yeah, get in on this. If you're watching this show and you have not yet backed a single Kickstarter, now is your opportunity. Get in on it, and then join us in building a massive pile of back issues you need to read. What are the? I guess what's the most basic charge someone can pay to get, say, a digital copy? What's a physical copy going to run someone? And then what's one of your crazier, bigger tiers?
We have the $5 PDF.
Classic,
which is, you know, easy, you know, classic $5. The standard is $15 plus $6 for shipping. And that includes like a back-end board and a Gemini mailer, of course.
Oh, right on.
The only way to ship a comic, really. And then I also have a metal cover, and I did a metal cover for the first time for really Exorcist Club, and I brought it over to Tap or Die, and that one did good. This one's doing better than that on the like crazy enough. I'm really maybe it's just a better cover. It could be, but I was kind of shocked, honestly, because we sold the same amount as that previous cover in one day. So I mean, that's
damn. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the digital for $5, awesome, standard stuff. Oh, perfect. Okay, that was gonna be the next one. Estimated delivery, so June of 2024. As it sits now, I love asking this one. Is the book completed? Is it half completed? Like, I appreciate on the Kickstarter itself, you have a number of pages. You've sent me 11 of them, so I'm assuming at least that much is done.
Yeah, well, exactly. So this is actually the first time I didn't have the book done before I launched. It was weird because I found myself having done Tap or Die 2, and I had like 2 other books that are this and another book that was kind of in limbo. And then I was like, I can't do Tap or Die 2 and then 3. So I kind of kicked this into gear, but I was like, I can't wait 2 weeks for this book to be done, because that's 2 weeks I'm not on the platform. I feel as if I've been consistent enough to get the goodwill. And honestly, that's how most campaigns are done. And when it says June, that's really just giving myself like some extra time, because the book should be done in like a couple weeks. The book should be done before the campaign is done. Typically, I try to deliver the PDFs like the week of the campaign ending. So I would say you'd probably get that in like early May. But you know, it's good. It's just there to what kept happening. So with as much back catalog it's getting harder and harder to fulfill, because it's almost like trying to find, it's like bobbing for apples almost. You like have all these boxes and it's like, I need this one cover. This is the first time I had to order something in addition to my original print run. Really, this was like a lack of due diligence on my part, but I had to order more stuff to fill in the back catalog, and I'm out. My backlog, I had 2 cons back to back, and then I had so my inventory is wiped. My inventory is cooked. I mean, in a good way. You know, it's not bad, but
Yeah.
these little issue 1s and issue 2s that I had around, they're gone. So it was I was like, okay, if I'm gonna have 12 books that I might need to give to somebody, I need to just give myself some time to even let the books get here and stuff like that. Or maybe I just want to take a vacation and then because I also have Exodus Club that I'll have to fulfill probably in a couple months here. I'll have Tapper Die 3, which funny enough might get fulfilled. I mean, we got to see. Might get fulfilled before it's funny. It's hard to say, but I'm kind of betting on myself being able to get the process done at this point. At this point, really, once I get the materials, I can get a book fulfilled in like 3 days if I have all the materials at this point. So
Oh wow!
If once everything gets there, I'll take 1 day bagging everything up. I'll take a second day and I'll have somebody come help me. And then the third day will probably be add-ons and little stuff like that.
Right on. I guess one thing that I wanted to ask you, this comes from me speaking with other comics creators who usually do the con scene, and they don't do Kickstarters nearly as much as you do. Like you are, Anthony, one of the most active Kickstarter people, I think, in the comics community at large, certainly that I know. When it comes to sheer number of volumes or issues that you're putting out. So one of the things that I talked with other creators about and they mentioned to me was for them as creators being successful, what they ended up doing was they would do a Kickstarter or have their initial sale of their book and get their pre-orders. They would from that get excess stock and then do all the cons and make their money out of cons, such that they built up like a kitty, and then that kitty pays for tabling and blah blah blah, and then they just, it snowballs. Given the amount of products that you have to offer, as you've mentioned, you're running out of stuff. Are you finding that cons are more lucrative for you than Kickstarter when it comes to getting rid of stock, at least?
Yes. Well, yes, but I think it's two different. You almost have to look at it like two different things, right? It's relative, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not doing Kickstarter to get rid of stock. The idea is to get stock. You want a Kickstarter to bring in stock essentially, and then you want a Kickstarter. So it's like a 2-step process. And like I said, I got caught flat-footed because I had, bro, it was crazy. I had a 3-day con and then another 3-day con, back-to-back weekends. And bro, the messed up part, that money is gone. That money went right back into the comics, and I did good. I'm having my best con days as within last year.
Right on.
Once I have, it's fun to kill people on the table. Once I have the other stuff I'm working on, I fully believe that it's only going to go up. And the only unfortunate thing is people will give me this pitch, give me this pitch, give me this pitch, and by the time we get to Gods Were Dead, bro, my voice is gone. I don't buy a book or get away from me. But I found it. I feel like I'm pretty good at the whole con thing, and the added inventory makes a sizable difference. I gotta tell you,
right on.
I started doing so many different genres because I wanted to be at when I first did my first con. I had Decay. The standard cover, I had stickers, and I had the poster, which is just the poster of the first issue, the cover. Yeah. So I had basically 2 products. And I was like, "You like horror?" And they'd be like, "No." It's like, "Oh man, well I ain't got nothing for you." So now I really will legitimately have everything, and that's exciting.
Awesome. And I guess, like you said, you're selling out. One of the things that the previous creators, the group of 7, is who they were. They mentioned they actually fully ran out of their first printing of their graphic novel. I appreciate you don't yet have a graphic novel going on. You've got all these issues, though. Have you, or how many of the, I'll say 9 because you're actively running number 10. How many of the 9 previous issues have you fully sold out of?
I did 4 and 5 Decay, so it's 12, I think, in Extras Club. Decay 1, yeah, I know. Decay 1, the standard cover, I've reprinted 3 or 4 times, which is bad. You don't want to reprint. You don't want to reprint stuff. That's kind of an L. these days, I ordered like probably 2,000 copies of Decay, right? Like just different variants and stuff like that.
Okay,
But then I
yeah.
realized that I want to do more stuff. So it's kind of like now I want to stay more liquid, I guess. I want to stay more viable or flexible, I suppose. But yeah, Decay is a second print. Tapper Die is for sure a second print. I didn't get nearly as much of Tapper Die. Choose to also be a second print, if not even a third print. Yeah, so it's I really do when I go to cons. So my thing is it's 1 for 10 or 3 for 20, and then like for floppy, and then the more you go, the kind of cheaper it gets.
Yeah.
I really am moving a lot of like merch, literally, like as opposed to like if you have a graphic novel, the margins are better. So maybe you sell. You're not selling as much inventory, literally, I guess what I'm saying.
Yes. So like, yeah, if you have a single large graphic novel, you'll be for one of them, you'll get more money in as opposed to a comic where, like you said, 3 for 20, someone can hand you $20 bill and boom, 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 have Decay, Intrusive Thoughts, and Tap or Die. Interesting. And
Yeah.
I know I've asked you this one before, but I want the update. Given the success you're finding, is this, how close are you, if you want to doing this as your full-time thing? Like you said, you back-to-back cons, it's fairly liquid. Do you want to do this full-time? And you do. Okay, cool. But
Yeah, I do.
the
I
look
really
of
do.
it, you're not there yet.
I'm honestly not even close because you have to worry about margins. To be a full-time creator, you need multiple streams of income, and I have 2 or 3. Like I have Kickstarter, which I mean, only a couple of my series are in the black. Tapper Die is in the black. Decay is probably in the black. If I had to get, I mean, I sold a lot of copies of Decay. Exodus Club is way in the black, way in the black. It's fun to kill people's looking like it's trending that way. So once we get more of these series, even to make money, then we're good. That's a conversation. But then, as well, oh my damn mic. But then as well, then you're talking about, work for hire gigs. You're talking about residual from sales. You're talking about going to a con, all the time. You're going to talk about multiple cons, but also you got to worry about your margins at the con. And also, I don't think people realize how much, like even $725, like you think about it, like it's not a lot of money at all, but it's consistent. Oh, $725 US is the minimum wage. It's like, but you're getting that 40 times a week, basically. It's like you have to be making money every day.
Yeah.
So that's the tricky part.
Interesting. Like I again, because I don't do it myself, it's one of those things where I love hearing about the background and different people's opinions. And I also appreciate how candid you are with a lot of this.
Too candid.
Because no, it's something that's interesting that some people don't want to share about, they don't want to talk about, and you're just like, here's what I'm going through, here's what I'm doing. Because yeah, like your process is interesting. The speed at which you're doing this is fascinating. And so it's kind of cool to get to ride along with you a little bit. To help with that, I did want to get back really quick here. So this is the metal cover you were mentioning, where it's the 50 US or 68 Canadian. And then what's like sort of your craziest high end thing?
Oh, you get drawn in. That would be the thing. That would be the
Ooh. Sick. And I don't know. I think this is so cool. When it comes to then like you said, you've got words are failing me. You have multiple series you're working on. When it comes to like planning this kind of stuff, are you like, is issue 2 of this already in the works such that you're planning on where this person would go? Like how far ahead are you thinking on this stuff?
No, I mean you'd work them in, or like one of these for Tapper Die 3, I couldn't fit them into the story satisfactory, so I just made basically the inside back cover. I just added a graphic with 2 people like wrestling to.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so I mean, in some ways that's like better than being like in the background or something like that. So yeah, like Yeah. So it's. I'm always trying to think ahead. Sometimes some of these I'm kind of like on my feet. I mean it's hard. It's so many. It's hard to be on top of everything. Something I'm kind of telling myself is like I would have the entire series like the K. I didn't start at K1 until the K5 was written in script form. And now I'm kind of like, it's just too many balls in the air to even do that. Like I'd be doing myself a disservice. Like get the money first, pay for it first, and then go from there.
Fair. No, yeah, you know what? You're playing it. I don't want it to sound meek, but you're playing it safe, given how many you're doing, and clearly having fun while doing it, which is awesome.
I'm ecstatic because it's fun to kill people. I was worried about this book having it all. I mean, I feel like I knew it. I feel like I knew it had an audience, but it's Kickstarter right place. It was just so many factors, and this is my baby. Like in all honesty, like I don't believe in passing projects. I'm passionate for all my projects, but this is the one I need to do well. So I was nervous, and to see that it's doing very well, like exceptionally well, probably will be hopefully be my second best campaign. That bodes well. And anytime you do it number one, the number two generally does a little bit better, or even not exceedingly better because you have the back catalog. And then once I have even then I'll have more comedies. I'll have more stuff that like resembles this on I keep saying on the table, but on as well. So
that's how you're thinking of it, right? At the con.
Yeah, that it is. Yeah.
Interesting. So let me ask you this, Anthony, what is the end game, the stop point, if there is one? When will you be able to say, cool, I'm successful, I've done it? Like, what does that look like for you?
I feel like an Eisner would be lit, for sure. I mean, but I haven't even scratched the surface in terms of story. Like, if I had infinite money, I would I'd have a book release every other weekend, like really, truthfully. So there is no stopping point. I just want to make a bunch of great stories, and this is, I feel like this is a good kind of benchmark. It's kind of like, okay, cool. Like I stepped up. Now, what does it look like? What does issue 2 look like? I think issue 2 is going to look even better. What does the next thing look like? So it's really just about improving. Really, I don't have an angle on it. So like I said, I would love to do this full time. And I think you have to understand, like, okay, now it's a job. I'm cool with this being a job. Really. I mean, it feels like a job. Yeah. It really feels like a job.
The amount that you must write, teamwork with the others, like your artists, your colorists, your editors, all that, do stuff like this with people like me. Absolutely, this is a job. This is probably 2 jobs plus your day job. 100%. And like, I'm sure you're getting sick of me saying it, but
no, not at all.
For it. Like you have that drive in you. You're the most productive. Like you churn out comics like nobody I've ever seen. It's almost crazy.
You know what's crazy? I think I'm going too slow. Like the second comic by April, I'm like, bro, I would have loved to have had it. If I could have released this a week ago, I would have. And then Tabardot 3, I want a 2 week off, and I want to constantly be on the platform, like basically. And once you look at it like that, once you frame it like that, if you look at it like, damn, whenever I'm not on the platform, I'm not making money. It's kind of easier to like be like, okay, we can just keep it. It's about flow and momentum and stuff like that.
Yeah, you are taking this very seriously as a job. It's not a side project, a thing for a weekend. I appreciate that. Now, here's something I find interesting about the campaign. Given it started today, this campaign's for 23 days, not 30, which I find very normal. A lot of people do 30-day campaigns. Are you doing this shorter for a particular reason?
For 2 reasons. One, I want to fit in more campaigns. Ideally, right? You want to fit in as many starts to a campaign, as many ends to a campaign in a calendar year, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me, but maybe even not in a calendar year, just in general, because that's your most productive days, at the start and at the end. So when you have these 7 days, like, let's say I ran, this math is about to kick my ass, but let's say would I rather run 4 30-day campaigns, or would I rather run 6 20-day campaigns? Give me the 6 20-day campaigns, because I'm going to have that big first day push 3 more times, you know. So
Right
I think
on.
people think more days and more money, but it's actually the opposite. Like if you probably my worst campaign, I it ran for 50 days because I clicked the wrong button. Which is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. But really you want it to be shorter. It doesn't make sense to me to launch a third. The Kickstarter will tell you campaigns that for shorter days run better because you constantly have momentum. Like it's about finding that sweet spot. So yeah, like my mentor Pat told me to run it through Friday, like the whatever the third Friday of the week of the month. So I was like, all right, fine. I'll run it a couple extra days. But Tap or Die might be literally 14 days.
Woo!
Also, you got to think about it. The sooner it ends, the sooner you get your money. It's 2 weeks to get paid. Like, which is it's
Interesting.
Man.
So yeah, that's fascinating because like you would think, right? The longer the campaign, the more people can see it, the more people can back it. But at the same time, I can definitely understand, like, given a first day like you're having today, where you're nearly 75% backed, having that and then tail ending it fairly soon, where you're having, hey, if you want this thing that a bunch of other people want, you know, you should get in on now before it ends. You're sort of accelerating that process.
Yes.
Interesting.
Also, you have to worry about drops. Like, so for something like Tap or Die, which always has drops, because I think Tap or Die, it's fun to kill people is kind of something that you can only get. I would say it's a unique book. I think most people would agree it's a unique book. You're only getting that on Kickstarter for the next 20 days. Now, 22 days. Now, if you want just a sexy wrestling book, you can kind of get that anywhere. So for Tap or Die, I get a lot of drops. And that's also it too. It's
Really?
like, oh yeah, bro. I had somebody drop from $300 to $1 pledge because they said that, I mean, I'm not, because they said that, and I'm not doubting the genuineness of this. They said they had a family or emergency or something, like they just need the money or something like that, which is understandable. It's a lot. That's a lot of fucking money. Like it's not lost on me, but it happens more with something that you can find. Like I'll say more generic. It's my series. Like it is more generic, you know, just by the nature of it. So,
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anthony, I definitely feel like the business acumen you've accumulated in comics is serving you well, and also write a book, dude. You know, how to kickstart for dummies, something like that.
They wouldn't
Because
read it. they be determined to do the wrong thing, bro. It's great. It's crazy, and there's people that I gotta say this. There are people that will offer kickstarting like help basically, and then you look at the books and it's like there's just mistakes. It's just like I gave somebody advice that I thought would successfully fund. I was like, look, you don't have to do this. This is what I would do to guarantee funding, and they fired me. Like they were like, yeah, I want to get somebody more experienced. I'm like, more experienced. So I mean, it is what it is. Don't pay somebody to help you with it. I know, bro. Don't pay somebody to help you with a campaign, bro. Because at the end of the day, none of us understand the consumer. Kickstarter is very unique. If there's no market for your product on Kickstarter, I don't care who it is. Like they're not gonna, you know. I think it's more about making a product that sells itself in a lot of ways.
Right on. So something I am curious about for you then, because you've done this for so long, you go to a lot of cons. A long time ago, you had told me that people have given you the feedback that you can be abrasive, abrupt, blunt. Generally, they kind of find you dislikable or prickly because you are so confident. Now that you've done this so long, like I just imagine you've met a lot of people, you've seen them multiple times because you do the rounds. What is going to a con like for you? Do you find it sort of the social thing that I find other creators make of it, where they talk to other people and, hey, how are you doing? You know, what are you working on? And sort of networking that way? Or are you more sales oriented when it comes to being at a con?
I'm asking you, which one do you think it is?
I feel like you're more sales oriented. I feel like you're like the one guy who's sitting at his table the whole time and just like handing people books and, hey, do you like this stuff, and chatting people up.
That's exactly it. I don't go to cons for networking because I feel like you just got look. And again, my point is never to be like, yo, don't do this. You're stupid if you do this. Me personally, if you're going to a con, those people are meeting dozens of people. Now another artist, but if you're going to meet with like an editor or something, you got to think those people are meeting dozens of people. So for me, I'm just like, let me focus on sales, and eventually, if I keep doing these, somebody will come to me for some money to make something. This book actually got rejected by all the major publishers. But yeah, I think it was. I don't know. The art is good, but I mean, it was too wild. I'll say that. Like basically,
I'm not shocked. At the same time, I am surprised because I love the share. Like the fact that you've gone out and tried to pitch this to the companies and stuff. I like that they found it too different, too weird, too wild, because that's you, I think, and I think it's right. And it's also something I didn't know you did. Was this the first time you've pitched to sort of the bigger companies?
No, I got rejected every time. This isn't an unfair critique, or I'll tell you the verbiage I got back was one publisher is recently going through a lot of turmoil. But yeah, look it up. And then they said they rejected it, and then it was another company that was like, look, we can't have a kid doing bad stuff. I mean, it makes sense. It has the aesthetic of a kid's book, but it's decidedly not for a kid's book. So how do you sell it? I think it would sell to me, but it's one of those things. You would think that it wouldn't be a problem. You would think, and listen. Also, I don't want to be like, that's what one company said. I don't want to make it sound like, I don't want to make it sound like, to me, the book looks good, but that was the note was the book looks good, but the contents are a bit, not, Image didn't hit me back. You know what? I'm
just, when you say that, I'm like, I get it. Like, I get the idea, especially if it was like DC or Marvel, but I'm like,
it's not Image. It wasn't Image. I'll say, I'll put up as fun to kill people against I Hate Fairy Tale Land. I'll be honest with you. Maybe that's abrasive. I don't know. Y'all can tell me. That's just my opinion. But yeah, I mean, it's part of the process. At this point, I'm like, that taught me that look, these companies can. This is fortunately something that apparently I didn't know as of till now can be something that can be funded on Kickstarter. But I'm not gonna put money into something just for it to get rejected. I'm left with nothing. That was the thing. And this is a happy ending essentially, but it could have, so it is what it is. Like,
interesting. Well, By the Wayside has dropped in, and they had mentioned great insight regarding sort of the tabling, what you do, that kind of stuff that we mentioned a couple minutes ago. Fascinating. So, yeah, because that was one of the other things that I was going to ask you, and I was curious about, was often when I've spoken with other creators, the feedback that they have gotten from all the major publishers, whoever they've talked to, is like, oh, you have one comic, but it's not enough. We want to make sure that there's like 3 or 4 before we start soliciting something. And yet you've clearly done that. Like, I'm genuinely surprised that some company hasn't come to you and been like, hey, Anthony, we see what you're doing. Come here. And been like, can we just pay you?
Sounds good to me. I mean, honestly, it's baffling. Now, I am working with, I can announce some of this stuff. Like, I'm working with Pat Shan, Space Between, like that I work with him. Yeah, I wrote a short. I wrote a short with him. Charlie McKelvey reached out, and we were doing American Yakuza. We have that coming out. A lot. I have little. It's all like my peers, like people in my circle, more. Yeah, essentially. But yeah, it is baffling to me. is if I were to pick like 5 people to grab off a Kickstarter and like throw them money to make something, I would be on that list for sure. Like of people that aren't major, I would for sure be on that list. And other people would too, you know, but what can you do? Like, but if I keep doing it, they'll have to take notice. Like that's the beauty of it. And then like, hey, maybe one thing that I noticed was like somebody was like, people recognize the Tap or Die. I was like, okay, cool. If they recognize Tap or Die, because I do network a little bit. If they recognize Tap or Die, they're for sure gonna recognize it's fun to kill people. You know, like, so you know, it's like it's cool. It's gonna work out, bro. Like that's the thing. It's like it's also a momentum game. It's like I remember it was a conversation about somebody where it's like I'm gonna put this thing. They wanted to launch something on Zoop that failed on Kickstarter, and I said, look, don't do it. Like, don't do it. Like, because Zoop, there's no audience on Zoop. And you know, they were like, I have nothing to lose. You know, I'll be right in the same spot I will now. And I didn't want to say this because I didn't want to be a jerk. But I was like, if this fails on Zoop, right now your hopes are high. Right now your hopes are like you know, you're not gonna feel like, oh, nothing given. Like, no, you put energy into something and it didn't work. It sucks. Like it really sucks. Hitting submit to something and not getting a reply back, it sucks. It drains your momentum. Now there's probably a better balance. There's a balance to find, but I'm very cognizant of stamina and momentum, essentially, which is why I'm not really pitching right now. Why not just double down on my own stuff, which is paying me money, and hopefully make a name for myself through Kickstarter.
Interesting. It's one of those things where, like, for me, again, having talked to so many different creators and done so many interviews, I get a number of different scenarios where people get certain feedback from the publishers. But one thing that is shockingly similar among all of them, especially the ones that like are successful, especially on their own, is like they, in not so many words or not the same words, obviously, but they basically say the same thing, which is, why would I go through a publisher who may maintain the rights to my work when I can just do it on my own and be just as successful? And that's one thing where I feel like for you, like, I know that obviously you want to do this full time, you want to make the money at it, which keep going at it, and I'm sure you will. But yeah, it's one of those things where I feel like you're one of the people who will definitely be like, nah, forget the publishers. I'm just going to do this because I want to do this, and I will make money because I'm good at it. Whereas, yeah, it's just interesting to come across the different things and the different ways that people react to publishers.
You go to a publisher for infrastructure. That's why you go to a publisher.
Yeah.
Essentially. So I would definitely link up with a publisher for sure. It has to be the right project, but that's the benefit. You can also create the infrastructure yourself. I think what happens is you're not seeing the success on Kickstarter, and you're like, almost like a publisher's almost like a lifeline, but it should really be the opposite. Like it's much easier. You control your, and most of these publishers are creator owned, by the way. Like Image is creator owned. Yeah. Like Mad Cave is creator owned. Scout is creator owned. Like all these things are creator owned at this point. So even that concern is like, it's kind of like antiquated in a sense. Mm-hmm. As far as not owning your IP and stuff like that. So yeah, man, it's I'm in it for the long haul, and I don't want to burn out. And anybody who's going for that is cool, but you almost have to prepare to be rejected, which isn't fun, you know, as opposed to Kickstarter. You launch Kickstarter, yippee, you know, like it's if it gets funded, it's like, yay, you know.
Right on. Real quick, by the way, I mentioned a couple minutes back there, creators have to make great salespeople. I see that. Well, that absolutely is true. And Anthony's one of them. Now, Anthony, we've got like 10 minutes left of the interview. So for the folks out there, do me a favor one more time. Let them know the least expensive option, the most expensive option to get It's Fun to Kill People #1. Take it away.
The number one is the $5. The cheapest one is the $5 PDF, and then the most expensive is the get drawn in for $250.
beautiful. And like you said, basically when the book is done, by the time the campaign is over, the book should be done. So
Mhm.
likely they'll get their PDF copy pretty darn quick after that. So probably by the end of the month. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hope all goes well. I pray that you get all the easy printing, no issues, because I know the horror stories that come out of that. So with the time left, Anthony, I wanted to get into some fun stuff for you.
Can I ask you
So,
what you thought of the book?
uh,
Like the
it's fun to kill people.
yeah.
I liked it. I really did. Like I said, it
Okay.
was something. Actually, you've got the pages up, so why not go through it? Like, I loved how you set this up as like this wonderful, sad scene. And then like to me, the story, right? This ever so slightly seems disingenuous, and then it rips like you don't even see the kid. And then it rips into her being like upset about this, which you're like, okay, cool. Woman's lost their partner. They would be sad. Kids on the Nintendo. Great, they're not happy. But then as you like read into what this kid says and pick up on it, it's just like, oh, this is like a screwed up situation, huh?
Yeah.
Um, and it just keeps going. And like I even like people can see it really well here, how bright like the sun's coming in, yes, but like the brightness and the hue of the colors when you believe that this is like a genuinely sad person, and then all of a sudden it's like there's a little more, there's less hue to it, less brightness, and it's that like it's dragging the comic into reality of like this is
Yeah.
the crappy situation these people are in.
Yeah.
So it was fascinating, and like I loved this kid's personality. I definitely feel like the way he was written, he is older, and as you said, he's more mature. He's skipped a number of grades, so mentally he is right. And having a psych background, there are many reasons that happens for people who are in very
Yeah.
rough situations. They have to mature to survive, and with what we see this kid goes through, yeah, no kidding. But I loved it, and it was weird. It was zany. I loved this, like the way that this guy was drawn, dying or dead. Like all the creative ways that you've come up with this woman to basically dispatch her lovers were fun, interesting,
Did
and
you catch that his dinner was a fortune cookie?
oh my god, I didn't know. Oh my god. So these two have got looks like ramen, a box of chow mein or something, and dude's eating a fortune cookie.
Yeah.
Jesus. Oh my god. Like it's that kind of stuff where, because this is such a different book for you, when I read it, I went in with certain expectations, right? Obviously, I understand the language that you use, the type of symbols you use, the weight that you like to write with, and now all of a sudden, like, although it is, showing like the more realistic side of damage, death, dismemberment, the cruddy human condition we live in, you found ways to sneak in like some really funny stuff, which suits the style that it's drawn in, which I really dig. I also think the art design in this is really good. I think this is my favorite panel, not because he's trying to eat crumbs for dinner, but because it's looking down on him, and like the design of the floor is gorgeous, and kudos to all your artists, because oh my god, to render that and have it angled properly and look right. But like the effect that has, because I find him an interesting character the way you've shown him and your artists have shown him, because often he's looked down upon, he's made to look small, and yet given his intellect, like you have things like this where when they're talking, they're almost always even, like face to face, which is obviously not like in this specific shot here. Like if we're seeing this, we would be standing behind the chair or the couch or whatever, and that's the angle we're getting, but optically you're making them even, or your artists are, whoever scripted that. So I honest to God, I dig it. Like I haven't found a book that you've made that I think is bad. I think you're only getting better. Like, I think this one's the funniest yet, obviously, because it's a comedy.
Did you laugh out loud?
No, I didn't have any like actual laugh out louds. I did have like I don't know what to call it, but you know, like I went because I you know, it triggered that for me in the 11 pages that I got.
What made you laugh? Like, what was the part?
Can
you remember? You don't have to.
Oh, I just need to open my drive, so I don't want to show anybody the page. No, it'll be my email that you sent it to. And then if you're okay with it, I'll put it up.
Yeah.
Cool. Verify it's you. It's me. I promise. That's the password. Not now. Also, while I'm pulling this up, you seem very open to any sort of feedback. So I guess a thing I was curious about is, what do other people say that have gotten the chance to check this out?
It's not see that, and that's what I'm so curious. It's not done to know exactly. You read basically the first half of the book.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things. Truthfully, right now I think it looks good. I think it's undeniable, it looks good, but that's what I'm trying to figure. I'm trying to figure, like, what's the vibes? Like, what are people thinking about it?
Okay. So it's page 4, like in the funeral scene. So you're good with me putting it up?
Yeah, you're fine. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, good.
So it was this. So she's crying and all that stuff at the funeral, and she's like, "Oh my God, my sweetie, I miss them." Whatever. She's saying her sweet nothings, and he's like, "That's not even the right tombstone." And she's like, "Oh, whatever." And I was like, "Oh my God, this woman is just, well, it's cartoony," and I loved it. So that whole, like, their interplay, their different characters and how they interact, like the kid and the mom, love it. I think maybe that's what you do best, in my opinion. Anyway, is conversations, small talk, dialogue. Like, however it is that you've come to practice it, if it just sort of came naturally to you and you've honed that skill, whatever. Dialogue is something you do really well, and it continues to impress me.
Thank you. I mean, even on that page, one of my favorite parts is, like, she says, like, "I've been so tragedy stricken that I'm scared you might be next." And he's like, I can't see what he says. Something about, like, what the hell does he say? Little shit. Not if it strike. Oh, tragedy struck so many times and he says, like, not if it strikes you first. It kind of sets up a little bit. And then she so that's a cool, like, it's kind of ominous. And, like, yeah, I do like getting to the philosophy of the characters and, like, the nitty gritty of the characters 100%. So I mean, I'm in love with the story. I'm gonna be honest with you. Like,
good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad to hear it. I definitely think this has been one of our more talkative interviews. Whether that, I mean, I don't doubt that you enjoy your other books and like creating them and all that 100%. Stuff, because, I mean, the amount of work that goes into them, you'd have to. But yeah, you're definitely, like, you're on, which is exciting to see for you, because you've put out so much of this stuff. For this one to be, like, on, I'm like, oh, Anthony, like, is in love with this book. It's great.
Oh, 1,000,000%. It's like,
beauty.
And again, I have to say this again. All these I'm passionate about all these, but I can't act like I don't have favorites. Like, this it's just one is the one that's making me money right now. And then it's just I think it's the best looking one. I think it's also the most unique, and I think it feels like the most like a comic book. Like, this works the best as a comic book, and I think also only I could make this book. Like, it feels like that way to me. Like, and that's the best, right? Isn't that why you write? You write to make something that's unique, Mm-hmm. So I'm more than satisfied. I'm exceedingly satisfied with how the book came out.
Glad to hear it. Well, I think that people will love it. Clearly, I'm actually just going to refresh the page because why not? Like the 82 backers that you already have within maybe 13 hours now, because we've been about an hour on this show. Love it. And I think the longer this goes, the more success you will have. That being said, Anthony, we have hit our hour, so I don't want to keep you. I will ask you one last question, and that is simply, I think, for the fun stuff, of all the indie comics that you've picked up, because I'm sure, just like other creators, you pick up books from other creators and read them and check them out and see what people are doing.
Most of them I read.
Yeah. What have you been reading lately, and who made it?
Pat Shan. I've been reading a lot of Pat Shan books. I won't say I'm working on a little project, so I felt like, okay, I gotta be able to read everything so I can be like informed about the entire film. I said filmography, the entire bibliography, whatever it's called. So I've been reading a lot of Pat. I just finished Destiny New York volume 1 through 5, and no, I mean it's simply put, it's kind of like one of those things. Like, it's cool. It's like I'm studying it. I'm also, I'm reading something from a friend, somebody I'm close to, and it also serves like almost another purpose. I mean, my God, gorgeous.
Yeah, I've actually seen this in a while ago now. I saw it in comic shops.
Yeah,
because it was one of those ones where I'm like, gangster ass barista, and I was like, okay. So it's definitely, whatever you're working on with this person are going to be interesting, I'm sure. Fascinating, and whatever you continue to work on, Anthony, I'm sure will be quite good. Like I said, though, we've passed our hour. So Anthony, absolutely, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show tonight, man.
Thanks so much for having me. Appreciate you.
For sure. And for the folks at home, thank you for tuning in, whether you're tuning in now or 22 days from now, right before you back the campaign. Link is in the doobly-doo down below. That being said, comment down below what you think of Anthony, any of his previous books, or It's Fun to Kill People. Also, Anthony, very strange to be tweeting about that, being like, am I going to get flagged? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. But yes, the folks out there, comment, subscribe for more, and we will see you next time.
Golden age to present, digest to oversize. Never miss new comic day. Yeah, no surprise. So where's my no prize? Check the letter columns. Can't find issue 2.